Well, it's been a special one, folks, and I'm glad to be part of it too. Welcome back to the desk. My name is, of course, George Morgan, joining Lewis McGlade, who you would have met earlier on, pulling off your analyst's role.
I know, I'm not made for it.
I was impressed.
Oh, I wasn't. It's not for me. But I will say, commentary-wise, big step up now. I heard Arjuna and Ewan talking absolute rubbish about me earlier, so let's change that.
It's all right, I got your back, pal. It's
Yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Got your back.
Exactly. No, they were saying that I got beat by Jakub Brzezinski, which was correct. I mean, everything they said was factual, but it's just not for the broadcast.
No.
That's fine. But what we've seen so far, of course, has been two drivers looking really, really strong right now. Joshua Rogers, Maximilian Benneker. They seem like the drivers to beat right now.
Look, hey, we talk heritage in racing, certainly in sim racing as well nowadays, and I think we can definitely put this under that category. These two have been in squabbles throughout the entirety of their sim racing career. We have seen many a great, grandiose fight between that of Joshua Rogers and that of Max Benneker. But now this time around, here at the grandest stage of them all here at ESL R1, brought to you by Aramco at the Gamers8, it certainly will be a special one. And our next trip is to Germany. We're off to Hockenheimring here, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. They're getting ready for qualifying. Hockenheimring, interesting tracks, great for racing. To be fair, all of the four tracks that we've had so far, don't get me wrong, I know we had some great racing at Spa a little bit earlier on in the day in the very first race. The racing throughout the day, yesterday, it kind of leaned towards Hockenheim actually had the best racing of all four of the tracks, which is not something I would have called because I'm not really a massive fan of it. But either way, qualifying is underway. I still think you need to qualify on those front two rows.
Yep, qualifying, and we've seen how imperative it is. We look back at the previous two runs for Joshua Rogers, qualified third at Spa-Francorchamps in our first event. Then, of course, hopping over to the Nürburgring where he would finish second after starting second. First and second row for Joshua Rogers. That gave him those results. Max Benneker converting a pole into a race win at Nürburgring as well, but also his trajectory is only upwards. Remember, he qualified fourth at Spa himself as well, eventually finishing third, so he is definitely a man on the rise. Keep your eyes peeled for Max Benneker. He's on his hot lap now, making his way out to the Parabolica, down towards the hairpin now as well at turn 6, and then it'll send it through towards turn 7. And the Mouse driver, who is looking to certainly launch this team into the stratosphere, certainly Mouse apparent now in sim racing, and they look devastating with this man behind the wheel.
Yeah, certainly. So, of course, the winner back in Katowice in the very first race, which is at Spa, will be at that first day of racing. First sector for Maximilian Benneker is okay, not amazing, but a 20.2 for the Audi R8 is actually pretty decent. It tends to be the Merc, and the BMW actually goes quite well in that first sector. Second sector, losing a small margin. This is actually tracking to be a decent time, a low 36, maybe a 0.1, maybe even a 0.0. I think that might be a little bit too much of a stretch, but a decent lap time for Benneker. We saw in the previous race back in the Nürburgring, the qualifying times were incredible.
They were absolutely sensational. Max Benneker looking to add his to the list. Of course, we have alluded to the fact that the front row is certainly necessary. Benneker chasing that accolade, runs a little wide heading out of the final corner, but I think he's okay. A 30.3 grants him a 1:36.099, and that will surely be a tough time to beat.
Yeah, if you're getting into the 0.0s, you're looking for a decent time right now. Again, BMW going faster in the first sector, losing a little bit of time in the second. So actually, the plus-minus will actually be very similar to Maximilian Benneker. At the moment, he would be tracking towards a 0.0. Let's see what Jeffrey Rietveld can do. Team Redline out through the final corner, just catching up with his teammate Luke Bennett as well when we were watching that qualifying session back in the Nürburgring. It's very impressive. Rietveld comes across the line, and it is faster. That is amazing. A 35.995 on land. That is a very impressive lap time from the Dutchman.
Yeah, a corker indeed. A whole 10th faster at the very least, plus a little bit as well. 4 thousandths more ahead of Max Benneker as Tommy Usgaard, the man who's looking to try and pull up some trees here himself. Remember, finishing 11th at Spa, finishing 10th at Nürburgring, qualified brilliantly in his previous group, however, so we'll have to wait and see whether that will carry over this time. Also in the Porsche, as he now makes his way across the line, and that's a 1:36.310. Not enough to usurp that of Benneker or Rietveld, third fastest, outside of 3/10.
Kevin Ellis Jr. losing time in the first sector, about a 10th and a half more than Benneker, and obviously way off of where Rietveld is at the moment. Second sector, he managed to pull some back, but nothing too major. Could well get himself ahead of Tommy Usgaard, maybe even Maximilian Benneker as well. He'll come through the final corner, shaking the head. I don't think he's particularly impressed with that. He had a great lap yesterday to get himself into this event in that 1v1 duel with Marco Pajic, but it's not enough here, and he will cross the line and go to third.
He certainly will. Kevin Siggy, a man who's also going to look to try and launch himself higher and higher, coming off the back of a stellar run yesterday. 2 race wins to his name. He hasn't quite captured that same form this time around, but a 20.1 in the first sector looks very strong. 45.5 in the middle sector isn't too bad, but dips outside of where he might need to be. Again, running wide on the escape, heading through the final corner. He lurches forward, and certainly a little issue. 4th fastest. The last sector certainly undesirable.
Yeah, he lost a 10th of a second. You can see he's fuming in that car. That first sector was absolutely on it, getting a 20.120. That's the fastest first sector we've seen thus far in this competition today. 20.347 for Yuri Kazdorp in the first sector is not great. Again, that would be a couple of tenths off of that time that Kevin Siggy did, but the second sector he's pulled some back. The final sector, if he nails it, he might pull some more back and maybe get himself ahead of Kevin Siggy, maybe ahead of Usgaard, and into 5th place. He will cross the line, and it's not even that, just 6th for Yuri Kazdorp, who was so impressive yesterday.
Yeah, quite a ways out. He is struggling at this point in time. Yuri Toman, one of the most consistent figures in the ESL R1 series, was very strong in the spring season, very much responsible as well for R8G's performance. 20.3 in the first sector, though, isn't ideal. 45.4, however, in the middle sector isn't too bad. Sector 3 coming up towards the line for the Czech here, as he now makes his way across the line. What's it going to be? A 30.4 in the final sector. That puts him right in the frame. 36.164, 3rd fastest.
Yeah, that's a decent lap time there from Yuri Toman, the Audi R8. We've seen R8G be faster in the Audi R8, but now it seems like Mouse are finding their form once again. Jakub Brzezinski, who was able to move himself through with a couple of decent results yesterday, was involved in that finish with Thibaut Casamon, where he came across the line 0.000 ahead of the Frenchman. Brzezinski on this occasion will cross the line, looking like a midfield time. Might well be up there, but it is certainly 6th position, 3 tenths off of the pole, but obviously a little bit ahead of Usgaard and Kazdorp. Marcel Cinčić, the champ, is next.
Yeah, the current champion of the Spring Series back again, finished 3rd in our last race, qualified 3rd as well, bouncing back after the tricky time at Spa in our first race of the day. A 20.2 in the first sector is competitive. 45.5 in the middle sector, just a little outside of where he might want to be as well. The Hungarian hungry for more here at certainly here at the Hockenheim Ring, comes up towards the line, and certainly in the final sector registers a 30.3, so 136.134, 3rd fastest again for Cinčić. Can he hold on to it?
Yeah, he's got a bit of assistance there as well, because of course Yuri Toman directly behind, but here's a driver that needs to put in a good lap time. Joshua Rogers, first sector is okay, second sector is okay. He could well be tracking to put himself maybe even onto the front row, just ahead of Maximilian Benneker. Through the final corner, the points leader is going to go as he's trying to get yet another solid result onto the books. He'll cross the line and move himself into 3rd, just ahead of Marcel Cinčić and Yuri Toman. The R8G duo moved down to 4th and 5th.
This is looking even better for Rietveld right now. Dane Warren, who is also known to be such a sharp qualifier. The first sector looks tasty. 45.5 though in that middle sector. A consistent theme we've seen from some drivers, showing the pace in the first sector. Second sector just drops a little bit, but nothing too concerning. Sector 3 is going to be oh so key here for Dane Warren as the wonder from down under comes up towards the line now. Sector 3, is it big? It certainly is. Second fastest, 47 thousandths outside of Riedveld's time, and faster than Benneker and Rogers.
Yeah, so that makes Dane Warren the oddity inside the top 5 at the moment, because the other 4 drivers in there are the top 4 in our points standings. James Baldwin, the next one to come through, and that first sector is the fastest we've seen of the session, a 20.105, but he's lost out a lot of time in that middle sector. He comes through the final corner. The Mercedes-AMG Team Petronas Esports driver will come through that final corner, up towards the line, and he'll move himself to 6th position. So between the 2 R8G drivers, just a 10th and a half off of pole position. That will go the way of Jeffrey Rietveld. Absolutely stunning performance.
That'll make the opening lap oh so key for James Baldwin, but how about that for Jeffrey Rietveld? Absolutely stellar showing for that man. Managing to stick himself right at the sharp end. He has been fast right through the practice sessions we have had as well. And we're also going to take you through the starting grid for the race that we're going to be bringing you right up next. And of course, we have Yuri Kazdorp at the back, unable to change his form in the last 2 races. Tommy Oostgaard in 11th place as well, joins him on the back row. Jakub Brzezinski in 10th, Kevin Siggy in 9th. P8 goes to Kevin Ellis Jr. Yuri Toman in 7th as well. James Baldwin 6th. P5 goes to Marcel Cinčić. Fourth going to Joshua Rogers, chasing for yet another win. Max Benneker is going to join him on the second row as well, also looking for yet another victory. Dane Warren, a stellar showing in second, but your man, certainly the ALJ fastest lap, going to that of Jeffrey Rietveld. He's your fastest man as we hurtle around Hockenheim Ring.
Yeah, I mean, again, absolutely incredible for him to have done so. He just kept cool, kept collected, and just pieced it together. And when you're third in the championship like he is right now, when you've scored decent points, but not mega points, he's 33, he's a little bit behind the top two. He needs to just make the most of this round. Otherwise, those two could enter finalist mode and win the competition before he's even gotten close.
Yeah, and as you can see from the graphics right in front of you folks, stunning as they are, Jeffrey Rietveld makes it that much smarter with a stellar lap that I'm sure he will remember, and brings his form back into the sharp end as well. Has certainly been a stellar performer in the group stages, has converted now, gone second to second. He's one of the drivers who's maintained his place, so he'll look to do the same again. This time at Hockenheim Ring, he converted second on the grid to second on track at Spa, fourth to fourth here at the Nürburgring. Can he go from pole to victory here at Hockenheim Ring?
Potentially. I mean, he's got the record for it at the moment. That's the big thing. It is a track that you can overtake at, though, particularly coming round the Parabolica into that hairpin. The standings at the moment show him in third position. Of course, that puts him a fair way behind Rogers and Benneker. Those two are running away with it at the moment at the top of the standings.
Yeah, a win has never been more imperative here for Jeffrey Rietveld to bring himself into the fight. But you can't count out Joshua Rogers or Max Benneker. They're on the same row of the grid. And here, as you can see, the Driver Championship for your finalist. It's Joshua Rogers on 45 points. 4 points is all that separates Benneker and Rogers up at the sharp end. The old rivalry reignited here at ESL R1. Jeffrey Rietveld in behind on 33. He's only steps away. It could be a win that changes everything. 25 points, remember, folks, going to the winner. Marcel Cinchik in fourth as well. Pretty steady performer right now, Cinchik.
Yeah, certainly so. But that's what we expect from him. He needs to step up, though, because at the moment, again, the points they're trying to aim to get to, they're trying to get to 80. Once they get to 80, they enter finalist mode, and from that point on, the next race they win the competition. Now, between Joshua Rogers and, of course, Maximilian Benneker, the pair of those can enter finalist mode in just 2 races' time. If they do well in this race, first and second for those two, and then first and second in the next race. Doesn't matter which way round they are, if they're first and second, they both go into finalist mode after just 4 races.
Yeah,
I'm tense.
As you can see as well, the lights are about to go red. We've got the on-camera footage on the right as the lights now light up. 3 lights, 4 lights, and the 5th light. And it's pedal to the metal, and it is go, 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 and certainly now making their way down towards turn 1. Nord curve up first as well. A mammoth of a start there from Kevin Ellis Jr., who sends it up the inside almost instantly, but leading the way, it is Jeffrey Rietveld holding on to pole, converts it to the race lead as well. In behind, you've got the Porsche Coanders also mixing things up with James Baldwin, who got a rocket of a start as they all club together through turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, Brzezinski sending it around the outside as well. He's gone out wide. That will be the heroic Tommy Yuskard trying to make it stick around the outside. I think there might even be 4 wide behind this great start from Kevin Ellis Jr., who heads around the Parabolica, but at the action's all behind him. Look at that. Look at that from Brzezinski, who's gone to the left-hand side. The defensive line being taken from Kevin Siggy. It is all happening behind Kevin Ellis Jr. that we're looking at here through the hairpin.
Yeah, quiet as a mouse. The mouse cars are trying to fight back, but certainly if you're Max Benneker right now, you've lost out. You're down to P8. Goodness me, what happened to Max Benneker? But as you can see as well, further up, the RHE cars now looking to scrap. That, of course, being Yuri Toman as well. But we're now seeing on our screen Marcel Cinchik, who also had a little fall from grace as well and being peppered by Jakub Brzezinski, Yuri Kastorp and Tommy Yuskard going side by side. A little bit of contact as they make their way out of turn 11 very shortly, heading through the final sector, leading up towards turn 12 at Sachs Curve as well. Brzezinski, the pole, currently sat in that 10th place as we ride on board with him, hurtling through the stadium section. You can just see further up Benneker as well, chasing after Kevin Siggy. This is totally what Benneker doesn't need right now here, Lewis. He needs to get himself back to the front end, because look at the top end. You've got Joshua Rogers in 3rd place. He's going to carry the maximum points here against that of Max Benneker.
Yeah, which again would put him. The thing is with Rogers, if you're Dane Moran in the Porsche Commander Esports team, I'm sure that we're having conversations about this. Not now, because we're too early in the race. Depending on what Dane Moran could do, if he can't go out and attack Rietveld, if Rietveld starts to pull away, I am absolutely sure they'll try and switch the 2 drivers, because as much as it's a drivers' championship, Joshua Rogers, if he finishes in 2nd place, he will be comfortably within 1 race of going into finalist mode. He could do it after 4. He could do it at the fastest possible speed. speed, and that might come in assistance of his teammate Dane Warren, who's had a couple of struggles this season, over the spring season rather. But he's finding his form here in Riyadh at Gamers8. He's finding this footing, this pace that we know that he's had. He's come into Rennsport and ESL R1 as the fastest Porsche Coanda driver. He's just not had a round where he's been able to prove it.
No, not at all. I'm also intrigued to see what the Porsche Coanda team decide to do here. Of course, they've got cars currently sat in 2nd and 3rd. The form of Dane Warren currently coming into this, despite being on pole in race 1, only managing to convert it to 4th place, finishing 8th in his last race after starting 8th as well. Now, is this where Coanda perhaps intervene and suggest to Rogers and Warren, right guys, swap places. It's time for Rogers to go for the championship. Of course, we're only 3 races in. We've got plenty more to come. But if you're Joshua Rogers right now, you want to get it home and dry early.
Yeah, you want to get it done as quick as possible, and that's the thing, is that your teammate can help you with that. And to be fair, if I was my teammate, look, it's like, it's 100 grand. I'll give you 10. Yeah. Let me through. Off we go.
A kind gesture, if you will, Lewis McLeod.
Yeah, but obviously that's not what's going to happen in a team. These drivers do get along. Dane will understand the scenario as well as Josh. The pair of them are Australians. They've raced with each other an awful lot over the last few years, and Dane Warren is starting to really fit into the squad. But Joshua Rogers is still the big man. He's still the one that's scoring the points. I mean, he's finished 1st and 2nd today. He's looking for a 3rd podium, but he wants more than that again. As much as a 3rd place finish, I think, would still put him in position to do it in one race. You still want that extra comfort blanket. You still want that extra few points. The 4 points that it separates from 2nd to 3rd could be crucial to get it done next race.
Yeah, Joshua Rogers, the face that runs the place at Porsche Coanda, makes his way down towards the hairpin at turn 6. And now makes his way out towards turn 7. Still leading the way though, Jeffrey Rierveld, who's consolidated that. But have a look at this as well. We've got a little bit of action further down. Of course, it's not Yuri Toman this time, it's Marcel Chinchik, who's trying to grasp on anything he can to try and fight off Maximilian Benneker. Looks to the inside, now switches to the out, tries to challenge him late on, throw in some sort of an offence, heading through the Mercedes section. Now powering out now towards turn 9 and 10. Benneker shutting the door, instantly saying, no chance, mate. This is my place. He knows that every point counts. Benneker does not want to forfeit any more places. He's already had a rough start. He cannot afford to lose any more.
Absolutely not. I mean, this is 2 of our strongest drivers on the grid. I know it's only a 12-car grid, and they're all better than me and you, George, that's fine. But these two, I mean, you've got the driver that's 2nd in the points today, Maximilian Benneker. You've got the ESL R1 Spring Season champion in Marcel Chinchik in 8th and 9th position on the grid, in the 2nd half of the grid, and not looking as though they've got the speed to attack towards the front. They'll cross the line, 3 laps complete, still 7 laps to go, so still plenty of time for them to work their way forward, but some of those gaps are looking like they might be growing a little bit too big, especially that one ahead of Maximilian Benneker. He doesn't seem to have the speed right now. I wonder if it was contact and he's overheated the tyres.
It could well be the case, because obviously you've got to understand that Nord curve at turn 1 is an extremely sharp curve. We see cars time and time again go 2, sometimes 3 wide as they look to, benefit off the back of a decent start, but sometimes that does come at the cost of a few drivers. We'll have to wait and see. Once again, the 2 Coanda cars coming together. James Baldwin having a very good race so far. Of course, remember where he started. He's now up to 4th as well. Joshua Rogers and Dane Warren getting right in between each other. The gap thinner than a fly's eyelash between the pair of them. But Joshua Rogers, as we said before, chasing this championship. Of course, a winner back in Katowice when we had our opening LAN event of this stunning championship. Of course, ESL R1 never fails to impress. We're seeing it time and time again. Rietveld now sending them down in towards Sector 3, soon to be the stadium section. But take a look at the gaps of the top 3, equilateral between all 3 of them.
Yeah, there was a bit of a slide there as well coming into the Mercedes Arena section from Dane Warren, just pushing the rear end in, maybe driving it in a little bit too hard. Rietveld's now out wide as they head through the Sachs curve. Manages to be fair, the Sachs curve, you can kind of take a slightly higher line there. You can take the banking a little bit more, and that seems to be what Rietveld's doing. He's taking more speed into the corner so we can almost drive off a little faster, trying to keep those at bay. It's not conducive to good lap times, but it is to good defence. This is great stuff from Rietveld.
It is, and this is imperative in terms of his form. He knows what he's capable of. Of course, it has been the case that the Porsches can come into the fight later on, and I think this is what Dane Warren's doing. And look at Rogers as well. He's getting well within 0.2 of a second, and he's going to dip into the 1.5s. You're going to wonder now where the Porsche Commanders start to wonder about making a switch. They're so close together as they now exit, heading out of turn 3 and 4, and now down through towards the Parabolica yet again. The in-swinger out of turn 5. Rietveld, who's trying to check out Joshua Rogers, is going to have to ask the big questions eventually. Third place certainly won't be enough to clinch the championship right now, but second place would go a long way. Dane Warren alongside him. Are they going to swap? They certainly will do. That is the move we've been expecting. We've seen it coming. It has been coming. Dane Warren and Josh Rogers swapping places, but not giving up at all here, Lewis.
Yeah, it's certainly not done there, because Dane Warren's got back to the inside, so he's not handing it over. There we go, he lifts out going into the kink, but that's more so because to the inside line there, you're putting a lot of risk there. So Dane Warren did fight that one back. It was deep onto the brakes from Joshua Rogers. I thought that Warren was on the brakes pretty early in a sense of trying to let his teammate go. That was not the case. They were definitely fighting there, but this has put Rogers into a great position to race. He'll be scoring 20 points, would end up on 65, meaning he needs a podium in the next race, and he would enter finalist mode. One more position better, and it becomes even easier for Joshua Rogers. He is in fantastic form right now, and knowing what we know about the BMW, we know the BMW kind of struggles on its tyres a little bit later in the race. We saw it from Kevin Siggy a little bit yesterday.
Yeah. And
I get the feeling that Rogers is going to be on attack here.
70 points would be better as well, wouldn't it, Lewis?
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
Another 5 points to boot should he get P1, and naturally Rietveld is the only step away from achieving that. Yuri Toman, who we currently ride on board with now, makes his way around turn 1 as well. P5 currently for him, as he now makes his way down towards turn 2 as well. James Baldwin dead ahead, as you can see, now on the brakes. Toman now getting well up close and personal with the world's fastest gamer, a man who's competed in the real world of motorsport as well as the higher end, the high echelons of sim racing too. Toman not fazed by such occasions or certainly such figments, makes his way down through towards the hairpin as well. You can just see Baldwin there going defensive, and now Toman for the outside line in the Audi LMS RA. Oh, dearie me! And Baldwin very late on the brakes. I think he was more concerned about defending against Yuri Toman at the cost of them colliding with Dane Warren, and Toman toes his way into P4 as a result as well. But don't count out Baldwin. He's going to be tenacious, he's going to be furious, but look at Rogers right on the tail, hot on the heels of Jeffrey Rietveld.
Yeah, costly mistake from Baldwin, but thankfully it's only really cost himself. It's dropped Warren back off the back end of Rogers, which means Rogers has all his eyes forward, both of them on the rear end of Rietveld. He is focused on trying to pass that red line driver, and he's been getting closer and closer and closer. He's got some incredible speed as the Australian, and look at this. Whoa, that's a big slide going there into the Sachs curve. The problem with that is you start overheating the tyres. It can become a negative feedback loop, and then you overheat it, you slide more, you overheat it more, makes you slide more, etc., and it gets worse and worse and worse, and Rogers will need to nip that one in the bud straight away. But we're just over halfway through the race, 4 laps left to go, and Rogers is looking like he is right on it for this battle.
Yeah, I had the great fortune of testing Tommy Usgaard's Porsche as well prior to us coming into the event this week, and naturally I was also experiencing some heated tyres as well here at Hockenheim Ring as well. Thank you, Lewis McLean. As though we see the cars make their way out of turn 2 and 3 and soon to be turn 4 as well. Heading through towards turn 5, Rogers now obviously off the back of that little slide heading through Sachs curve. It's cost him a little bit of time, but he's still right in the delta and has got 3 laps. He can manage this race, get those tyres cool, maybe even attack on the final lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, let's be honest, 20 points is pretty decent, and Joshua Rogers will know that. He knows how to win events like this. You know, when it comes to some of his events, when he's won in PES, when he's won in BMW Sim Live, when he's won various other races like Le Mans Virtual, he knows how to play the long game, he knows how to play his cards right, and that is exactly what he'll try and do on this occasion. If he doesn't get past Rietveld, hey, 20 points is more than enough, but 25 could just make the difference. Again, if he doesn't get that 25 points and then he misses out by a single point on moving through into finalist mode, and then you win the next race, you're sat there thinking, I would have won had I scored 1 more point. That's what you don't want in the back of your head.
No, not at all. You don't want to leave anything to chance. And if you're someone like Josh Rogers, who has come up against the likes of Max Benneker, come up against Jeffrey Rietveld as well many a time in the past as well, you want to try and get these matters consolidated, over and done with as well. As we take a look at Max Benneker, and he'll make his way, still chasing after Kevin Siggy, another man who's also trying to upturn his fortunes. A real contrast to yesterday's racing from Kevin Siggy, but this is a very high tension situation, of course. this is where the big prize money is up for grabs. The drivers all fighting for it for themselves here, and Benneker, who is a multiple-time champion, but look at this further up. Kevin Siggy now starting to unleash against Kevin Ellis Jr. in towards turn 2, and a little look around the outside. Siggy certainly attempting to try and make the move on Ellis Jr., who went ultra defensive heading through the first sector, but a switchback all over the rear of the Audi as they power their way through the parabolic. And now Siggy switches to the outside. Kevin Ellis Jr. forcing the issue further out wide as they head through turn 5. Turn 6 coming up next to the hairpin. This is where Siggy can gamble. Can he leave it late as they now nestle their way in towards this very, very tight section? Heading through now, Kevin Ellis Jr. doesn't have enough, I don't think, to stop him, but certainly Kevin Siggy has a lot in the tank as we rejoin Max Benneker, who sees this fight ensuing right in front of him. But Siggy superlatives here at Hockenheimring grant him that P6.
Yeah, but Kevin Ellis Jr. is coming back. It's Go Kev versus Kev himself. Maximilian Benneker, like you say, involved in the fight. They head through the Mercedes arena section, and it is Kevin Ellis Jr. dropping back that position to 7th. He'll now have to defend from Benneker. 2 Audi R8s on the rear end of a BMW M4. We head into Mobile 1. The line being taken, using a lot of that curb over on the right-hand side. Kevin Ellis Jr., trust me, he'll get aggressive on this scenario if he has to. Big slide there from Kevin Siggy as they head through the Sachs curve, trying to finish what will be the 8th lap of this race, heading on to the penultimate one. There's a lot of close battles late on. Great move there from Kevin Siggy. Marcel Cicic also making it a 3rd Audi R8 in this train. They'll all be disappointed with themselves because Yuri Toman showing that the Audi R8 is not slow around here, because he's right on the rear end of Dane Warren, Joshua Rogers, and then this battle here, Jeffrey Rietveld at the front. You can see Yuri Toman at the back end in that R8G as he looks down the inside slightly on Warren.
Yeah, absolutely right indeed. Rogers has driven a patient race. This is extremely patient. He could have plumped for the move perhaps earlier on Rietveld. This time he might think about it, because of course on lap 9 of 10, this is where Rietveld might start feeling the pinch on those tyres here at Hockenheim. And just look at the speed he gets heading through the famous Parabolica section at turn 5. Marches now to the outside as now defensive goes Rietveld. They run side by side now through turn 6 as they wheel through. Contact coming through, and Toman, who's also looking to challenge, enter Dane Warren now into this scrap as well as they now make their way down through towards turn 7. They go wheel to wheel now between the 2 Porsches. Dane Warren saying, no, I'm not going to disturb you. He's more concerned though about Toman in behind.
Yeah, this is it, because Toman's now seeing his team, the Porsche Commanders, slowing up ahead. He wants to get through. It's the penultimate lap of the race, and Warren was not able to find his way past his team, I think because he lifted out, to be perfectly honest. But you can tell Rietveld is feeling the pressure. If Rogers had anyone else behind him, I think he wouldn't be attacking so hard. The fact that it's his teammate, it's giving him the confidence to actually go for something a bit risky. You can see in the top right, it's a 10-second time penalty for Kevin Ellis Jr. when it comes to his track limit excursions, so he'll drop back from 8th position to last, courtesy of that in a post-race penalty. One more lap to go here though, George, and Rietveld is leading. He's dealt with the pressure, but that speed from the Porsche Commander is terrifying.
It is frightening, and this time Rogers doesn't really have a lot to worry about in behind. The gap has been drawn out just a little bit, though I will say Dane Warren arguably not done yet either. Rietveld just skipping over the curbs as they exit out of turn 1. Of course, coming out now of Nord Curve down through towards turns 2 and 3, a chicane of sorts as they now wheel their way through. There you can see as they now charge through this initial section. It's then the in-swinger through the Parabolica for the final time here in this race. Lap 10 of 10. Toman also looking for a tow through this section 2. Wants to gift RHG with many more grandiose results as now the Czechia driver looks to the inside here. That will soon become the outside into the hairpin, but look at the front as well. Hovering all over the rear of Rietveld, who goes mega defensive. Joshua Rogers reading it like a book. Cuts to the inside out of turn 6. Toman being forced wide further back as well for 3rd place, but still remains 4th as they go wheel to wheel still now. Heading through towards turn 7. Down it towards Mercedes they go. Together, a switch back immediately there from Rogers. Can't quite pinpoint it. Rietveld with a mega defense.
Yeah, this is fantastic stuff. Rogers trying to get around the outside then. That one's not going to work. It's going to go up and under, coming down towards Mobile 1. Joshua Rogers might have the overlap here. It's going to be covered off potentially from Jeffrey Rietveld. He's got to be brave. He's got to be committed. And Joshua Rogers is going to send in. It's so close between the 2. And somehow Jeffrey Rietveld is able to hang on. Also is Dane Warren on Yuri Toman. It's fantastic racing at the front.
It certainly is. They've come together. Jeffrey Rietveld pulling off one of the stellar defensive drives that we have certainly witnessed here. We witnessed a few, but Rietveld has really done a number this time on Rogers, who's chasing those extra 5 points. But here at Hockenheimring, it wasn't enough for Rogers because it's Jeffrey Rietveld. He wins here in Germany and the Hockenheim ring. And Redline now taking an abundance of points at the expense of Joshua Rogers, who stays P2. It was still a stellar attempt, but there's your winner. It's Jeffrey Rietveld.
Yeah, he's delivering now. We called him the quarter-final man earlier on in the spring season when it came to the online stuff, when it came to Katowice. He was so good in the quarterfinals. He lost speed at the semis, but now he is showing that he is probably one of the drivers to beat. Rietveld's been fantastic, so's Team Redline this weekend, and that win says it all. Look at that exhale as he gets out of his rig. That was a tough race, an excellent defense to have dealt with that pressure.
Fireworks here at Gamers8 and here in the ESL R1 series here, brought to you by Aramco. What a race, what a battle, what a defensive effort, what a scrap. It is certainly one to treasure. You, the viewers at home, were certainly treated to that one. Joshua Rogers certainly did try and haunt the rear end of Jeffrey Rietveld's car. He gave it everything heading out of the hairpin. Had his chance here, Lewis. Had every chance. This arguably being the best chance of the race to make the move.
I've got to say, it's this bit here. So there was a good bit of defence there here. But watch this. So it's the defensive line being taken. Tried the up and under, but it was covered off by Rietveld. Brilliant racing between the two of them. I mean, just pushing each other to the very limit. Now to the outside as we head out of the Mercedes arena section, but it was still Rietveld on top.
It was. Rietveld gave a real purpose drive, a defensive drive. A great wall that certainly helped him to certainly cling on to that victory. Joshua Rogers gave it everything heading through the Mercedes arena sections, as we now see them go wheel to wheel, nose to tail once again. Rietveld again hard on the brakes as they made their way through this next section, but then the squeeze heading through the final two bends on the circuit through turns 15 and 16 at Sud Curve gave him the overspeed heading through towards the start-finish line. Rogers just did not quite have enough in the locker, and that granted Rietveld his victory here in race 3 in this final section. And we're going to join him now for an interview.
Well, well, well. I mean, I'm not going to lie, Jeffrey. My heart was up here towards the end of that race. I'm sure it was for you as well. I want to just quickly kick things off by just asking about something to do with your mindset. Now, you know, as we got into lap 9, there was chaos behind you. In your rearview mirror, you could see it all happening. Does that affect your mental? Because then going into lap 10, that's when all the kind of chaos caught up to you.
Well, I wouldn't say it affects my mental, really. You just need to do your own laps. And I was only looking at Josh, really, who was directly behind me. And yeah, for what gap he would go or not go, it was extremely difficult because we lack top speed in the BMW. And you can clearly see that the Porsche is just gaining so much on me on the straight. And also in the braking, even for the hairpin, that well, it was maybe the toughest fight of my life, really, to pull this off.
فعلا اللي شفناه في السباق اللي قبل شوي خصوصا في الجولة الأخيرة كانت حوسة من جد. فسألنا عن المتسابق معنا فقلنا له أنه صحيح في الجولة التاسعة تحديدا إيش اللي صار كان صحيح أنه هو كان متقدم بس اللي وراه كانوا في حوسة كبيرة مرة. فهل كان مأثر على أدائه؟ ذكر قال أنه مو مرة كان مأثر، كان يحاول أنه يسيطر شوي على المسافة، لكن في نفس الوقت كان جدا صعبة عشان أنه ما يبغى يفقد تركيزه في السواقة ويبغى يحافظ على المسافة بشكل جدا ممتاز. وفعلا هذا اللي حققه وقدر انه يستمر، ولو انه كان جاش برضه وراه كان جدا قريب على اخر جوله، بس انه قدر يتقدم ويفوز في السباق.
Well, coming up next, we've got the Temple of Speed, a track that many of the drivers that we've spoken to, especially yesterday on the main stage, have said, you know, it's a bit of a tough one, maybe not as much practice on this track. What's your plan going into it?
Yesterday I felt very good on Monza, so yeah, I mean, I already scored good points, so I'm very happy right now. Yeah, once again, it will be about nailing the qualifying lap, and then we will go from there.
بالضبط اللي سألنا المتسابق اللي معنا في المضمار الجاي اللي هو بيكون مضمار مونزا، في كيف استعداداته برضو له في المضمار الجاي. ذكر قبل شوي المتسابق أن بالنسبة له واثق جدا، خصوصا أن أمس لعب فيه بشكل جدا ممتاز وقدر أنه يتسابق بشكل جدا ممتاز. فالحين بيدخل بثقة أعلى، وخصوصا أنه قبل شوي تو فاز بالسباق الماضي فحقق النصر، والجاي عنده ثقة أعلى فيها.
Well, Jeffrey, points on the board. Keep climbing that leaderboard as we approach the end of the day, but congratulations on the win once again, and we hope to see you up here for another interview during the finals.
I hope so as well. Thank you very much.
بالضبط الحين كل التوفيق لمتسابقنا في هذه المرحلة الجاية. فالحين خلينا ننتقل على طول على الاستديو، إذا كانت تفاصيل السباق نرجع لكم السباق اللي بعده.
Indeed, with that, let's head back over to the desk so that we can continue our Drivers' Championship finals.